HAT Format takes us back to the summer of 2014, in an era before Pendulum and Lynx, where the XYZ monsters reigned supreme. HAT Format is at the tail end of the Sexal era, and it ended with a blast. At this point in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, Soul Charge was just released, allowing players not only to create impressive boards, but also to pick apart said boards, in so-called Soul Charge wars. Negates are few and far between, thus making such wars very interactive and skillful to navigate. Card lore is at its all-time high, to the depths of the Mermail Atlanteans, to the sky of the Dragon Rulers, to questionable artworks. The flavor and uniqueness of the cards in this era are one of my favorites. This is HAT Format. Starting off with the main deck, I have 3 copies of Archlord Kristya. Ever since Edison format, Archlord Kristya has been a menace in the Yu-Gi-Oh TCG, and in HAT format it's no different. You will notice as we get to the rest of this profile that the entire deck is built around summoning and abusing this card. As such, we mainly want to utilize fairy monsters, seeing as they work with Kristya, and also other non-engine that works when we have Kristya on the field, but also when we don't. Then for the agents, I play 3 copies of Master Hyperion. Having 6 boss monster in this deck gives you a leg up versus the competition. Both the Gear deck and Artifact Traptrix struggles quite a lot when you continuously throw these boss monsters at them. And neither of these have a summoning restriction, so you can just keep looping them back with Call of the Haunted and Soul Charge. Then for our agent starters, I play 3 copies of Earth. This being a tuner helps a lot thanks to some of the synchro monsters that were released in 2014. And should they not deal with the Earth, you have quite a good body on the field to pair with your Venus, that you can search off of the Earth. Venus is great at fueling up the graveyard for Archlord Kristya or Master Hyperion. And the rank 2 pool is actually pretty good in this format. But there is a catch. You unfortunately have to play 3 copies of Mystical Shineball in this deck. Drawing this low attack vanilla fairy isn't the best, but the rest of our deck definitely makes up for it, seeing as it is still a fairy monster for our fairy count. And then what is probably the best hand trap of the format, 3 copies of Herald of Orange Light. Orange Light, like Earth, is level 2 tuner, which again goes very well with our deck. And this is a powerful hand trap that both fuels up the graveyard for our plays, and can stop our opponent in their tracks. Just make sure to use this at an opportune time. Particularly when you have the revival cards like Call of the Haunted or Soul Charge, you may want to use this earlier, even though it might be a neg 1, just to get those cards into the graveyard. And then for the best engine in HAT format, as well as fairy monsters in general, are the artifacts. When Archlord Kristya gets to wield the power of Artifact Moralltach, this deck just becomes completely unstoppable, and against the combo decks you can even loop Artifact Scythe, making sure that they can never access their extra deck. Additionally, these being 5-star fairies is very good for your deck. You can synchro into level 7s with Herald or Earth along with any of the artifacts. And if you get 2 of them in rotation, or you can make a 5-star synchro with the Venus and a tuner, then you can make a rank 5 like Pleiades. Now, should you draw any of the artifacts, or you draw Sanctum, which we also play in this deck naturally, seeing as it's an artifact agent deck, but you don't have any targets in your deck for the Sanctum, well then you can just put them back into the deck with the Herald of Pure Light, and get another activation of the Sanctum. The synergy of this deck is absolutely phenomenal. Now we do lack some starter cards, so I decided to play 3 copies of Card D. Card makes up for the fact that Orange Light is a neg 1 and allows you to get deeper into your deck in the first few turns of the game. And another good starter card, which also works with Card D, is Pot of Duality. During the turn we activate Pot of Duality, we cannot special summon any monsters. So it pairs perfectly with the Card D, seeing as they both have the same restriction. And with Duality you can filter out some of those bad draws like the artifacts, and instead access some of your starters, non-engine, or boss monsters, for the following turn. And for the other spells, I play 3 copies of Soul Charge. You can fairly easily fuel up the graveyard in the first few turns of the game to allow for an impressive Soul Charge play. Or just Herald of the Orange Light to negate something and immediately make this card live. And thanks to how this deck is comprised, you have very many options to go for when you do go for your Soul Charge push. I will make a separate video talking about some tips and tricks on how to play the Agent Artifact deck in HAT format, so make sure to check that out. Then for the traps, I play 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum. I had a version before where I was playing Artifact Ignition and Beagleattack, as well as the preferred copy of Moralltach, but I eventually realized that just drawing Sanctum on its own is good enough. I don't need to pair this with a Beagleattack to go for a big artifact push, because just having the artifact on my field and stopping my opponent from playing was good enough. And the agent cards, despite being released in 2011, are still very good in HAT format. And should you play against any combo deck where you want to side these cards out when you go second, you can definitely do so when you're just playing those 6. Then I play 3 copies of Call of the Haunted. Call is sometimes better than Soul Charge in this deck, believe it or not. The fact that you can do this during your opponent's turn, particularly if you were to pitch a Kristya with Herald of Orange Light, can be absolutely devastating for your opponent. If your opponent were to activate an effect that attempts to special summon a monster, you can chain Call of the Haunted to bring out Kristya, thus making the call act as Vanta's Emptiness on legs. And of course you can also do the typical artifact Scythe loop with Constellar Pleiades and Call of the Haunted. Then I'll play some purely defensive trap cards, in 2 copies of Phoenix Wing Blast, 1 Torrential Tribute and 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device. I felt these 4 are just the safest ones to play. Both Bottomless Trapple and Solemn Warning are quite weak when you go second, while TT can still be okay into a field should they commit more. And having a face down Torrential Tribute after your opponent deals with your Archlord Kristya can be way more devastating than a Bottomless Trapple under summon. And the Compulse is just a very easy out to any card on the field, particularly from the extra deck. Wing Blast is similar to Compulse, but you can also take away their spell or traps or any floodgate they might have. And discarding a card from Wing Blast can actually be good should you have Call of the Haunted. For the extra deck, I have 1 copy of Gachi Gantetsu. While the Gachi in Venus Play turn 1 is quite dated in HAT format, it's still pretty good to summon this and boost up your field, as it can help you attack over some larger attack monsters, or just go for an OTK. 1 copy of Herald of Pure Light. Pure Light is a very good way of getting back your Archlord Kristya or Master Hyperion from the graveyard, and you can use this to shuffle back your dead cards like Shine Balls or Artifacts. 1 copy of Dagusto Phoenix. Phoenix can allow for some OTKs, seeing as you can turn 2 Shine Balls into 3000 damage. And for the last rank 2 I have 1 copy of Dark Mist. Whilst he requires 3 level 2s, with Shine Ball that is not really a concern. And Dark Mist can allow you to attack over anything, and should you crash this into your opponent's monster, you can then get your 3 Shine Balls into the graveyard, which can set up for some Archlord Kristya plays at times. And just remember that the attack boost is permanent. For the rank 5s I have 1 copy of Volcasaurus. Volcasaurus is just a good spot removal for a rank 5, and with Gaia Dragon you can do some additional damage. 1 copy of Constellar Pleiades. Pleiades is the best rank 5 in HAT format, and the fact that you play Call of the Haunted you can go for the loops with Pleiades can be very strong. 1 copy of Tyrus. The main reason why I played Tyrus is because he's a fairy, so you can make him with 2 artifacts under Rivalry of Warlords, and spot removal could come up at times. 1 copy of Artifact Durendal. Similar to Tyrus, Durendal is a fairy, but he also has a very good effect of being able to change your opponent's cards into an MST. And since the agent deck barely plays in the back row, usually it's just a dead Call of the Haunted on your field that they would pop. Or if you have any artifacts face down, you can do some nifty tricks. Next I play 1 copy of Gaia Dragon. Partially for the infamous Volca-Gaia interaction, where you can make Volcasaurus pop a monster, deal some damage, overlay for Gaia and attack into something in defense and she's out the game. But it's also good with the rest of your rank 5s. And for our 8s, 1 copy of Felgrand. Very rarely can you even make this card, but should the situation call for it, it's definitely a good one. For the Synchros, 1 copy of Armades. Armades is good in those niche game states where you don't really have much going for you, besides your agent cards. You can make Armades with Venus and Earth, and should he attack over a Lynch or Geargi armor, they cannot use their effects. Then we have a Blast from the Past, Ally of Justice Cataster. Whilst Cataster may seem dated in HAT format, it's still a pretty good card to make. In those aforementioned situations where you have Venus and Earth, you can make Cataster to deal with most monsters. Anything above your attack threshold can be troublesome at times, particularly dealing with a Leo, which Cataster can freely do. 1 Michael the Lightsworn. Michael has dual use. Not only is he spot removal by banishing any card, thus dealing with anything in a very clean way, but he also mills 3 cards in the end phase, thus you can mill your agents or fairies for Kristya, or for your Call of the Haunted plays. 1 Black Rose Dragon. Having access to a board wipe in your back pocket can definitely be useful. And for the last extra deck card I have 1 copy of Leo, the Keeper of the Sacred Tree. For the side deck I have 2 copies of DD Crow. I wanted some more hand traps in the side deck, particularly for when I go second, and I think DD Crow is one of the more generic ones. You could consider playing Effect Veiler, but I think this deck already having Orange Light is good enough, and the Crow is a bit more versatile in HAT format. Then I have 3 copies of Max C. Forcing your opponent to slow down can be very good, particularly when you draw into cards like Herald of Orange Light, which is a very good hand trap to pair with the Max C. 1 copy of Dark Hole, 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice, 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 copies of Royal Decree, and 2 copies of Rivalry of Warlords. This deck being close to mono fairy, and the fact that Rivalry can be a strong board breaker at times, makes it too good to pass up. If you enjoy my content, Make sure to also subscribe to my second channel, linked in the description box down below. There I'll be posting more personalized and exclusive content.